Well, it's been a while, right? So I wanted to ask, instead of talking about myself, how are you doing? Tell me, please, how are you doing? Because the thing about having a YouTube channel, it's kind of, how can I put this? Well, you get the comments, right? And if there isn't many comments, there's not much happening on your channel. And my channel mostly has been just a desert. Few comments pop in there and some people maybe ask questions, but I always scratch my head and ask myself, why am I still uploading videos, making content, and just, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining here, but it's really hard. Like on YouTube, there's no, like you have to pull in thousands and thousands of views per day in order for this to work, right? Of course, there are other types of monetization strategies, I would say, that you could use, but yeah, I mean, if you're in for the views and for the money, I mean, you can basically quit. There's no, whatever somebody tells you that I have like a million tricks down my sleeve and I will show you exactly what you need to do in order for it to work for you, it's probably 99% bullshit. The thing is, there's no magic bullet. There's no do it this way and you will gain success. Because when it comes down to YouTube, success is defined in many aspects. Some define it by your subscriber count. Somebody will define it by how much money you're pulling into your channel. Others may define it by what kind of network, what kind of impact your channel has on the community. So yeah, there's many little things to take into account, right? When you upload content to YouTube. Now, I've uploaded like over 300 videos, and most of them, I think they didn't reach over 300 views, most of them. There are some few that had a lot of views. I don't know why, but I guess that's just the algorithm, how it works. So, why am I recording even this video? I don't even know, but I felt like I needed to share this and talk to my channel, my audience, right? Whoever's listening to tuning into these videos of tutorials and I don't know, it's new tricks that I show on the channel, because they're kind of like 3D graphics party tricks if you think about it. Because I never show a process from A to Z. I kind of just show you snippets, little parts that I think could be interesting for someone. But as a whole, they're usually, they don't cover the whole thing, right? It's just usually just one thing shown in a specific type of software. And I show you instructions how I did it, basically. Now, these videos, these kind of videos have little potential on YouTube. Not many people gain success doing this kind of content. There are a few examples of people who did have success. I mean, at least you can say that they're making a living out of it. You can definitely say that. But most artists, most publishers, most people who upload content to YouTube will never, I mean, yeah, but let's be honest, they will never gain that kind of reach of some of the well-established channels. There's very low probability, and in order if you understand this, I'm trying to understand this, that I can't look like at the biggest, guys in the whole industry, because if you think about it, I'm just one guy, right? And there's usually teams of people working on these bigger channels that you don't see. It's behind the scenes, right? And it's all sorts of people. It's either a cameraman or somebody just putting the video together, or another person working from the legal side. Once you get popular, people, they want to reach out. So you need some kind of filter that would, filter the contacts. Now, why am I talking about this, and why am I talking about, YouTube in general and failure? That in the sense that it's really hard to succeed on YouTube, and in general in startups, right? Because I've been involved in many startups during my life, and some were good ideas, some were really bad. But most of them were considered, at least by myself, as a failure. Some considered them as a success, but mostly it was a good experience. Like I feel that doing a startup is one of the greatest feelings, like just from the positive side of actually working in this kind of field for over a decade now. I can say that recommending someone to do a startup as a way to provide food on the table is probably a bad idea. Although on the other hand, some people value more the experience than the money, if you know what I mean. So yeah, long story short, my experience with startups was that I published videos, right? So I made a video about a 3D printer, and this was back in 2012. It was ages ago, and most people haven't heard of 3D printers then. And I published a video, nothing too fancy. I had a friend that was working and helping me out put the printer together, right? It was the early days of RepRap, which is the open source project that launched the whole revolution of, home, you could say the home 3D printer revolution that never kind of happened, but still is a very successful product nonetheless. But back then, everybody believed that these printers would be everywhere in every house, and people would just be printing stuff. And that never happened for obvious reasons, because 3D printers were slow, and the ecosystem wasn't there. So anyway, I published a video, and my relationship with startups and investors, I never had an external investor, right? Nobody. I always self-funded my projects. So my tutorials and videos that I made were all self-funded. I took money out of my bank account, bought some equipment, bought that, did that, asked my friends and family maybe to help out sometimes if I needed something more expensive, but mainly I was financing it from what I was earning from online courses and from the videos, right? And on YouTube, I never made any dollars. I made like $15 every 3 months. So you can imagine it's nothing. There's no, I mean, it's absurd the amount of views you need to pull in order for this to work. So why is this analogy important for me? Because running a YouTube channel is probably an idea that will fail, right? And if you go into that with that kind of mindset, and allow yourself I'm talking to myself, right? But I'm broadcasting this to the channel. But if I allow myself to fail, then I kind of have this freedom to experiment and not to be afraid of publishing something that people might find weird or completely non-useful or boring. It's all these things come through our minds every time we upload something or put out something to the world for people to see, and we know that we could do better usually, but this is the product, right? So you put it out in the world, and the market doesn't care. YouTube doesn't care unless you're making content that will be popular or is popular. There's no incentive that would make YouTube promote your content or your startup, right? The market will decide on that. So yeah, back in 2012, we decided to launch. I'm gonna actually, yeah, this will be cute. So yeah, I'm gonna. I think I have. Did I find it? Yes, Rapcraft. So yeah, there's these websites that. Oh, here we go. So the project name that I failed at was one of the first 3D printers that was designed and made, right? I don't have the video here, although I can show you plenty of cool footage. So yeah, have a look at this. This is the printer that we kind of kicked off. And no, wait, this was the second project. So this was the whole metal version. But we had some crazy ideas with this printer. Let me just search for this so you'll see exactly what I mean. And I'm gonna just turn off the audio on this and run the video so you can have a look, right? So you can see here, this was the inspiration, was just a Gaudi little sculpture, right? So we thought this would be a great idea to promote. I had a friend, he had a laser cutter, and we could, he built sports cars, by the way, this guy. So he was pretty into engineering and had some knowledge, he knew a lot about manufacturing compared to me that I knew nothing about it. So anyway, based on the Prusa design, we made a metal frame, and this was one of the first printers in Poland, I think first or second, that actually worked and was creating a usable 3D model. So this project evolved into a startup, right? And the startup was to make 3D printers. But as you can see, this was the really early days of 3D printing. It was ridiculous. There was no parts. There was no supply chain. Everything had to be kind of, mashed together in order for it to work. It felt more like putting up a Lego kind of product, because Lego, I mean, something that we wanted it to be like Lego, because we saw that 3D printers were very hard to to put together and manufacture, right? So yeah, I'm gonna just pause here, and this was really so you can see here the problem of this project is why it failed, right? I'm not gonna talk about why it probably failed for a number of reasons, right? But the main reason, I think, it was ahead of its time. And when something is ahead of its time, it's really hard for it to get traction or interest. Now, we got that interest, don't get me wrong, because there were Polish media writing about it. We had news reporters coming in. I had phones of, just businesses and people after seeing the project, and they wanted to understand the technology, right? And yeah, this was the early days. I'm still recording on the same camera that I shot this footage, right? That I was shooting this 3D scan. And in the early days, I was even, we had this vision that it would be cool to have a 3D scanner integrated into the 3D printer. And back in the day, nobody was thinking about shit like that. Nobody. It was kind of just like, oh, it'll be cool to have, right? And we did it. We tried to do it, right? We didn't do it because I think only 2 prototypes existed in the world of this whole idea. And yeah, and this was a failure. I'll tell you. I think this is the original trailer. Okay, go ad, please. Thank you. No ads, please. So yeah, this was the original trailer that we had running on the campaign. And yeah, I put a lot of work into this. I put like motion graphics. I wanted this to be new age technology, and friendly, basically. Friendly for people to watch. So yeah, this was one of the guys that I worked with, Bartosz, who helped us with the manufacturing side. There was also my friend from the States that helped us connect the Kickstarter campaign, because back in the days you couldn't do Kickstarter if you were a company from Poland. You need to have an American. So we kind of hacked the system and thought to ourselves, okay, my friend here is in the States. Maybe he'll help us launch the project. And it worked. Yeah, he did. He said, all right, let's do it. Okay, if it will work, it will work. If it will not work, it will not work. So that's me in front of an old car. And yeah, we were young and stupid, but really bold at the same time. And we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. I didn't know, at least. Because it was just very it was surreal, right? Because we were so much excited about the project. We wanted to just do it, right? No matter what would happen. So even a guy that I worked with, he actually modeled the whole 3D printer in 3D space, so we could see how it looked before manufacturing it. We manufactured the few prototypes. So yeah, this is just a crazy time lapse of him fixing like CAD errors. It was just a visualization, and we wanted to show how this whole thing came to existence, right? Because I believe that when you show people, when they see, they understand. Because when you see here, it's not just here and then imagine. You need to see what, because when people see something, so that's why we had all this in the background showing, right? So this is the 3D scanner integration. So we had this vision that it would be awesome to have a 3D scanner. And we even, started scanning little bits and pieces. This was one of the first prints that we had. And this was really early days. There was just a bunch of, passionate guys sitting in a garage trying to figure this out, right? Oh yeah, and this is cool. This is where we went over the like, let's go crazy. And this was, we were kind of, at least I think now, from the perspective of these few years, a couple of years actually, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we thought it was cool. So we made a kind of Ghost Edition 3D printer when somebody wasn't even thinking about how these things looked. And yeah, we shot the video, put it on the spinning table, and I think this is what people really got excited about. Don't get me wrong, it was the presentation. And this was a combination of, you know, me as a filmmaker and the guys who were able to manufacture this and create it so it looked presentable, right? And yeah, this got really people hyped. But we, as I said, we were too early for our days, and the project failed. It didn't get success. We sold a few copies. I mean, we nearly got it funded. I think we asked for, it was kind of a foolish thing because I think we asked for like $35,000, something like that. And we raised like $13,000. Instead of just doing like, I don't know, let's do $10,000 or even $1,000, and we would have the campaign funded. So it was our first mistake. We should have set our expectations for the crowdfunding thing a whole lot lower. And why am I still talking about this in context of you coming here to listen about how shitty my channel is doing? Well, I just felt like sharing this because this whole experience, I'm going to record another video talking about how I was dealing with investors, because I don't know if you know, I was one of the co-founders of Omni 3D, which was one of the most known, I would say, back in the day at least, 3D printer manufacturers that got venture capital, right? We got lucky and there was an investor that decided to give us a whole bunch of money. It wasn't that much money, but it was enough to get us started. I think it was around $300,000, something like that, around that range. And that was like over a period of year, 1 or 2, I think it was over a year where the money was, you know, sent out, and we had some crazy, really cool projects going on there, and we attracted, I think, one of the best talent you could find when it comes to engineering and creativity all around the Poznań area, because we were located in Poznań. The first thing we did with the money was we rented out a space, right? Because we needed people to fit. I'm gonna give you some more context about this. There's this really old video that I published. Let me just have a look at it. I might be able to find it. It was a video that I made because I felt like all right, let me just search quickly. All right, so yeah, this is the video. Okay, get rid of the ads. So yeah, this was the video, and I'll just talk about a few things that you can see in this short clip. So this was the first, what you see here, the picture. It was made by one of our guys that worked on the 3D printer and the manufacturing and everything. We had a problem that there was too many bits and pieces. And when you have too many of these bits and pieces, the problem is you have no idea where to put them, right? And it was okay once you built one printer, but once you got into building 3, 5, 10 printers, things got a little bit complicated. So I was most impressed by this guy who just, I think his name was Wojciech. I think he just drew, what he basically did, he took the kit, the one kit that we had, the prototype kit, and this is called knolling, and he put everything on a table and started tracing it with a pencil. And once we saw that, we said, okay, we can see all the parts now. Finally, they weren't like in the 3D package. They were actually in, on a piece of paper we could see and see how big they were and etc. So I was impressed with that. And these little things helped the whole experience of running a startup, because I really like these small things that people do, that you can see that they aren't because nobody told them to do it. That's the thing. In startups, people think that once you get a job at a startup, you're just going to be told, okay, do this and this, and you get paid. Well, it usually doesn't work like that. It's a little bit more complex. It's sometimes, oh, you need to fill in this gap because we have no clue how to do it. That's why you're here. And you have to, do your own research or whatever the hell you're supposed to do and figure it out. And a lot of people expect you to tell them what they need to do. And that's okay. There's some people who prefer that kind of work style, I would say. And some people hate it. They don't like being told what to do. So we got a whole mix of these kind of people in our company, which was very powerful, because there were people who were really good at doing what you tell them to do. And you need these kind of people in your company. But there were also people who kind of didn't like hearing what you were telling them to do, and they were just doing their own thing, which was good and bad. And I'll get to that at the end of this short podcast. I'm going to keep this short, a 45-minute session, because I could probably talk about this for a few hours, breaking it down by each bit. But I'm just going to go and run through this. So yeah, this was our first prototype of a wind turbine, right? And the wind turbine was our marketing idea. It was our, we wanted to sell more printers. And have a cool story behind it. And the story was that you can use your 3D printer to print out a wind turbine, and this wind turbine will give you power and can give you power, and the whole thing was kind of cool because most people were printing really small objects like trinkets and stuff, and we decided, okay, let's print something really big as soon as possible. And we started doing that, and we were printing, cups that we drank vodka from, which was cool. We had this kind of innovation, experimentation concept. Now, I'm going to just stop here because this was just like a shot that I don't think this video, just so you know, was published in 2014. So we had this cool presentation where a bunch of people were coming to see our design, and I really liked the idea of visualizing, a graph, a process of something working. So there was this software that worked on Android. You could connect your printer, and it worked with Arduino, and it was able to visualize G-code, which was what you see here. And most people, we didn't sell these printers like this. Although this was it was again ahead of its time, right? If you launched a 3D printer now with these features, people would just go, oh, cool, that's all right. But back then it was really something, because for one, people didn't even see a 3D printer in the first place. It was like you get the first of, this is a 3D printer, and then the second was this is a 3D printer that shows you what it's printing. So we had the double combo here, but that wasn't enough, right? It didn't help solve all the problems that a 3D printer startup has. So I'm going to go through the analogy of, these are step sticks. And I think these are put together by the guy that actually drew the first picture that you saw. And yeah, he was just assembling it. I tried to be really creative with this because I always looked at 3D printers kind of like entertainment. I wanted to marry it with entertainment. I knew that they were just tools, right? And they were really good tools and exciting tools, but they were still mainly considered as just a tool, right? And the thing that some companies did that they should get more credit for than they, I think, got, companies, MakerBot. Yeah, they did it. They back in the day, they made 3D printing sexy, exciting. They made it a thing that was something worth doing, and people got excited about the technology more than ever. And that's what they did for the whole industry, that helped launch it to a new, to new heights. And what I'm trying to say is that this was 3D printing existed long before, we back in 2012, 2013, 2014 got interested in it. But it wasn't mainstream. It was really underground. There was just a few bunch of companies that had these printers, and they were making good money, but it wasn't exciting. It was just like a CNC machine. Nobody was excited about CNC machines, right? But for some reason, people got excited for 3D printers, right? And yeah, we even had this is Bart. He owns his own. Now, the cool thing is that most of these people ventured off after the company that got founded, because we founded it with a core team. Most of that core team, most of it actually, I think one person is just left from the core team, still working at the company. So all the people who worked starting it don't work there anymore, as far as I know. So yeah, we had a DJ, we had cool music, we had vibes, we had 3D graphics, we had dogs running around the goddamn office, we had time lapses, we had prototypes. This was one of the first prototypes. Yeah, it was just I printed out the bits and pieces, went down to my garden, glued them together, used an axe and stuck it together. And you won't believe me, but this was actually used in the campaign itself, in the Kickstarter campaign that failed, probably for a good reason, right? But still, it was exciting, and it showed that you can achieve. I showed myself that, like, what I learned from this, to wrap up this session that I'm trying to convey, the idea that I'm trying to convey to you, that it's good sometimes not to know what the hell you're doing. Because that's exactly how I felt back when I was doing this. And at the same time, it's very liberating, because you just go on. And just to restate that, if you don't know enough, it's just good to go on. Because if you start filling up your head with all this information of people telling you what you should be doing, or what's the right thing to do and what's the bad thing to do, you kind of build this framework around your head that's not healthy for a startup environment, where bold ideas, breaking things early. I know this sounds cliche, but it's kind of true, where you kind of don't care what's going to happen, but you still do it. And sometimes these ideas just click. And this what happened to this little 3D printing. So yeah, and the story, because if you are into 3D printers and you know a lot about them, the backstory of this printer is just it's a copy, right? and we copied somebody who also copied someone, and that person copied. So yeah, that's the whole idea of open source. So people started building up on others people's ideas, and I remember that the first credit design for this kind of frame, printer, and this kind of the way it worked was Felix printers. And I remember receiving one of these printers, seeing it, and it looked, they're from Holland, another really good established company. Huge respect to them. I think they have they're successful in the sense that they exist on the market, and they're making quality machine. And their first machine was very early days also. It had mostly 3D printed parts like ours did. And we based it on their design, right? But then it all changed anyway, because we really wanted to make our own little small printer. And this was just a way to launch the product, because we knew how to do it, because we saw it. We took it all apart. Basically, to build, back in the day, you didn't receive a assembled 3D printer. You had to build it yourself. Most people now just buy assembled 3D printers, although there are some people that still enjoy putting them all together, and that's why companies like Prusa exist, and they're quite successful. So anyway, I had a lot of fun shooting these time lapses. It was I just put a GoPro on a little egg stand that click 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 click. This gave us a cool panoramic view of the workshop. And yeah, the printer. When I look at it, it's kind of I shrug now, because it was a miracle that this thing worked. And we took it to trade fairs to show people, to show clients, to basically, because we were on this hype train that we had a product, and all 3D printing manufacturers had that at the beginning, where most people haven't heard of it or seen it. So it's like when people see the first train, right? They were astonished when they saw the first train. Now you see a train, nobody cares. So that's how it is. You get the first wow factor. And we really rode that wave. And we were able to go down to show it at trade fairs. We went to Cebit. Poland was one of the sponsors of a big trade fair in Germany. It was like a national effort. And many companies were there, and we had like a little booth that I was able to organize, and we got it free, and it cost so much money before, and we didn't even have the money from the investor when we were promoting this, and we were showing it to the world. We had no money. We basically had our back pockets just filled up with a few euros that I borrowed from my parents, and just, went, okay, let's go down to Berlin, eat a kebab, and, show the printer and see what happens. And that one move gave us the door into investors who got interested in the project, because they were able to see the interest the product was generating. They were able to see that we were doing it without their money. That's another pro tip. And if people see that you're putting your own money behind projects and doing stuff your own way, without, external investments, I would say, but you're actually putting your own hard-earned cash into the project and hoping it's going to work, they want a piece of that pie. They want to be able to, because that's their job, to sniff out as early as they can a business before it actually matures, right? And that's where they go in and make their investments, and their money works from there. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the investor relationship or how it all went down, or how we because I'm only interested in the beginnings more than what happened at the end. Although I'll be happy to share what happened at the end, and I can tell you one thing: it's not a happy end, at least for from the point of view of a founder. It's a story that many founders will probably have the same kind of story, where they put all their heart into a project, launched it, got interest, got investment, and then the business side of things took over, and they either lost the company or they stopped caring about it. There's many reasons, but sometimes it happens that investors really want to take over the company as soon as possible. So you, as a founder, although this depends, right? It depends on the investor and the situation, but it happens in Poland that investors go into projects with an intention to take over the project as soon as before it matures enough, so they can get the bigger pie of the investment from their money, right? So it's a business decision. I understand them in a way, but what I don't understand is the ways they do it and how they come about to the relationship with the founders, and yeah, it's a whole different session that I'll be happy to share if there's interest for this kind of content. But I don't know, I'm just sharing this now, and maybe you'll find this interesting in your world. Yeah, so you see, the same thing that I put back in my garden, we started building it in the office. Well, salespeople, you can see in the background, were seeing what we were doing. So we were trying to get people excited with the prototypes itself, with physical products. The nice thing about the 3D printers is that you have a lot of physicality in it. With virtual digital goods, you don't get that. With VR, it's a bit different now, but we didn't have VR then. I think it was like, yeah, you can see, I think there's an Ultimaker one down there. I think it's one of my first ones that I had. And this was the print farm. Yeah, you can see it was just a converted kitchen into a print farm. And we were printing, I think, client things and stuff. So yeah, this took a lot of time, a lot of effort. We had cool trailers, we had 3D scanners, we had the whole picture. We were signing our machines, shipping them out, and the business was you would say, like, if you look at this from an outsider, we looked like the perfect storm of a startup, right? Two guys come together, and one is like a bit different than the other, and they kind of they come up with this idea of making a 3D printing company, right? It's really expensive to run a company, and especially a company that makes physical products. Hardware is hard. A lot of people say that for a reason, and I really understand them why, because in order for you to make hardware, you usually need source materials. And if you don't have source materials, you're kind of screwed. So getting a supply chain working was one of the hardest things to do. And after experimenting, you could see this was our first. It was called the Omni, which was, I think, only a few pieces of it were made. I think somebody has a few of them. Yeah, we even had a cool 3D scanning projects where we wanted to develop the scanner more, and this was based on David laser scanner. And yeah, we had a whole bunch of companies that we were pulling stuff together just to make these things work. And we started going bigger. We started going, let's make the printer print higher, and that introduced a whole bunch of other problems. So either going smaller or bigger had issues. This was a cool shot here. It was very brief, but this was our third location where we moved into. Second location, kind of third, I would say third location that we moved into. And yeah, and this was where we had a bunch of orders. People were excited. We were printing. People were owning the bot farm. But, okay, I'm getting to the end of this film. And what happened? Well, life happened. What happened is we went to a street. I think you can see Bre Pettis here, the owner of MakerBot, right here on our shop. That's interesting. This was our marketing guy, I think Kamil, and you can see, I think Konrad, which was my co-founder. We had the 3D printing. We had like the greatest spot ever. Like we don't get me wrong, but we were in the perfect storm. And for some weird reason, it didn't work out. And I'm not going to go into why, because that's not interesting. What is interesting is what happened for this to form, right? Because if you start just analyzing what shit went wrong, you'll find so many things and you get really good at it, at pointing out what's wrong. But if you focus on what was good about it, which was how it actually came into existence, what happened that made people drive to be interested in this, what were the first steps? That's why I like the beginnings, right? That's why I like when things kick off and start. And my experience now tells me what I've learned is not to get overexcited about the project. So, you have the plateau. So you go really too excited and then you fall hard. But you need enough excitement for you to do crazy things. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship. You need to be really excited, but at the same time, don't get overexcited, if you know what I mean. Because you'll hit hard and fall hard and it will just be a hell of a ride. But if you're able to contain that excitement, but at the same time, wake up every morning and think about, okay, what I'm gonna do now is this and this and this, and you think about you think what your next steps are, or what you actually currently have in your hands that you can use. Sometimes less. I sound cliche, but it's really true. Sometimes having less is better than having more, or knowing less is better than knowing more, in that sense of failing, right? Of experimenting. What happens? So you let yourself fail, right? This was this Prusa, great machine. Put it all together, shot a video. This was like the 3D printer at home, we wanted to show it. We wanted to show ladies putting printers together. It was kind of my thing. I really wanted to show women be able to do these kind of things, and they were really good at it. They were amazing. They were actually better than some guys working with this kind of stuff, and it was really an eye-opening experience for me, because I've built so many of these little projects and these little printers. I've seen how they're supposed to be built together. What are the steps of it to make this thing run? And it's really satisfying where you create something from nothing. Literally, it's just a bunch of motors, wires, and sticks all put together and screwed together. So once you do that on your own, you really feel a positive impact that is the driver for your next cool step, or your next step that you're going to do for your startup, your business, or So my point is that it may feel hard at the beginning, and it will probably be super hard. But don't give up. And if you're dealing with hardships with investors, or your co-founder, or your spouse, wife, husband, whatever, doesn't matter. If you are dealing with people who bring you down or try to make stuff harder for you in your startup, that's life, and it will be always like that. And I wanted to say, to just give you a glimpse of this, of my experience. That's why I'm sharing it with you. And hopefully this may help someone to not make the same mistakes I made and try to think more outside of the box, because when you're in it, right? It's hard to be out of it when you're in it. And the more time passes, the more I see my experience from the bright side, even though I consider this as a personal kind of failure in building a successful business, right? Because I'm not currently involved with the company. I kind of was ejected from the company, just to say it kindly. I was ejected from the company, and I guess it was for a good reason, but at the same time, I think I learned a lot that hopefully I can share this with you and you will learn more. I'm sorry, my phone is attacking me. I need to join another conference. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.